Hello everyone and welcome. It is, what day are we on? Saturday. It's 8 o'clock. It's what basically I wanted to do a video, and I was going to do this like as a video that I just put up and people watched, but then I thought maybe it'd be better if I did it as a live stream, because it's all about mental health. This week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and although as far as I'm concerned, we all suffer with mental health in one way or another, to various degrees, in different ways and over different things. But then there's a lot of us that suffer with the same things, so there's a lot of it is the same in a sense, so the feelings of it are the same, even if it's a different thing. So I wanted to basically do this and allow people either in the chat, or if anyone wanted to come live, to also come and talk about their own issues and things like that. So that is where I'm at. I'm going to post the link for the stream itself. He's Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hi, love.
Right, I'm just going to say a few hellos before we get into it type of thing. So hi Ali, hi Nia, hi Gary, hi Ashley. Where are we? Hi Daryl, hi Joan, hi Chris, hi Carol, hi Craig, hi Cara, hi Richard. That's me. Right, I think we've got through anyone. Obviously, I'll say hello if anyone comes in between times. So, where to start is, I guess, where to start the conversation, because that's one of the hard bits, isn't it? It's starting the conversation at the time. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
Because partly, well, depending on what issues that you have, you know, there's some of them are so debilitating in terms of like how negative your mind can be, that it's hard to believe this is happening to anyone else at all. Hi Jennifer, just seen her pop in. So I'll speak a little bit and we'll go from there. I have suffered with body dysmorphia, which was the first thing, I suppose. Didn't realise at the time. I've had depression, I've had anxiety and panic attacks. Anxiety to me is part of anxiety, is a normal part of life. So therefore, it's normal to have anxiety over something like an exam, a driving test, a first date. Do you know what I mean? That's normal. It's when that anxiety stops you from living, I suppose.
Yeah. When it affects your everyday activities, I think is the key.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When it affects your day-to-day life. Yeah. It can make you sort of spiral out of control in a sense, I suppose, because that panic becomes like restricting.
Yeah.
You can't move forward from it. Sometimes it literally does freeze you. Sometimes it's I've had, for me personally, when I've had like the panic attack or extreme anxiety where I've had chest pain, felt like I was having a heart attack. It is that serious. It gets that intense that you know, you have this impending doom. You feel like something seriously wrong is going to happen. You sweat. You get hot and cold flushes. You can. I felt like my head was so heavy it was going to fall off. On occasions, I've had like shakes. I've had where I felt like my throat's closing. I've had loads of different symptoms, and whilst none of the symptoms are actually going to hurt you, it is horrifically scary. Horrifically scary. And like I said, you can think it's other things. Yeah, you think you're going to die, Carol. That is true. And it can then lead to things like, so for instance, if you associate something with that panic attack, if you had a panic attack and you were outside of the house, you would then associate that panic attack with outside of the house, and therefore thinking, oh well, I'll not go outside of the house because that way I'm safe and I don't ever want to have another one of those panic attacks, because they are that scary. And to stop yourself from having one, you think you're doing the right thing by staying away from I don't know, a certain place or a certain thing, but then that can lead into a spiral down of then, oh well, I best not go there and I best not go there, because that can also spiral into having one of those. Or the fear is there, so you feel like you can have it, that you won't. I mean, it stopped me from going out. You know, it stopped me from leaving the house for a long time. And it's, like I said, it's just, I think if for people who have never suffered from it, or you know, and hopefully they never do, that it is just so debilitating. But it's important to I think to realize the difference between feeling genuinely worried about like I said, an exam or something like that, and the difference between the extreme fear and the rationalization between the two, because there is none at the time. Like you lose you lose your rational. I can't speak.
Oh God, yeah. I know what you mean. Rationality.
You use your logic. And the thing is that when you feel that fear, your body does that thing where it reacts. So your brain wants to protect you. So because your brain is sent to protect you, your whole of your body is telling you to hide yourself, to stay away from that fear, because your body doesn't want you to go through fear. It doesn't want it's a fight. Is it fight and flight thing? In order to not face it, you literally don't face it. You avoid it. And I think it gets to that stage where you just think, well, I went to the town that time, I had a panic attack, so I'll not go there anymore. And then you think, oh well, it might happen just at the local shop, so I better not go there anymore, because your brain's like protecting you, when actually those are the worst things you can do, but you do them because that's what you think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the time you don't it's not like you don't automatically speak to somebody else who's experiencing the same thing and say, well, this happened today, what do you think what do you think I should do? You do what you think is best for you, which is fine. But obviously that then becomes a problem, as you say, when you shut yourself away. I mean, I've experienced panic attacks, and obviously people who've not experienced seen somebody have a panic attack, they don't know what it's about. So therefore, you know, they ring an ambulance because they think you're having some sort of seizure or, you know, a heart attack or whatever, you know, which I'm grateful for the help, but it's, you know, a lot of the time, or I would say most of the time, you know, an ambulance isn't what you need really. You just need to zone back into where you're at. I mean, there are those that know, but one of my huge issues, which considering some of the career choices I've made, which I'm not going to go into, but you know, the fact that, you know, 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, you know, I was spending time with a lot of people day in, day out. Now, the thought of that absolutely is could be nothing further from the truth. Because, you know, groups of people is part of my problem, and this is why I don't go to meetups. This is why I don't, you know, get involved with stuff like that. There are people I've met on a, you know, one-on-one basis, which is fine, and it can be a multi-phase thing, really. That, you know, I can be just worried about it, or it can be absolutely debilitating. As an example, a few years ago, I was supposed to be a godparent, and ended up just completely out of it because I just couldn't go to the christening because the amount of people were there, which obviously was devastating for me. It was devastating to the family, but I just couldn't do it. And this was on the day, you know. And, you know, it's like that for a lot of people. You know, and don't get me wrong, there are, you know, some days where it can just literally be, you just can't go involved in search, and you start to plan your life around it, I think. You know.
You do. That's right. But you start to unplan your life around it. Is what you do. You start to unplan your life because you don't do as many things as you would have done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
what about sorry.
No problem.
Oh, actually just disappeared. I was just going to say, like, I was just going to ask if Andrew and Ashley had suffered with panic attacks at all.
I frequently have had panic attacks for years. I'm getting hospitalised with one once when I was 19 because I thought it was an asthma attack that had gone out of control, but it wasn't. It was a panic attack. I had a massive one, I think, last weekend that felt like I was having a heart attack again. But you know, you learn to ride through him, really, because you know, it's just something. It's just part of my life now. I have several a day, but I won't even notice them most of the time now.
Yeah, that's fair point.
Hi, Andrew,
by the way.
Hello.
I used to have them all the time. Since I came out of hospital, I've had one, which thank God and touch wood and all that. But I've done different methods to try and cope with them, which is another thing I want to go into. But I probably think we'll discuss things first and then go into like ways of helping and stuff on either end. So where do we want to go next? I'm just gonna pick this up. I don't know. Well, I was told that I had body dysmorphia, but I was told that I had body dysmorphia after I had body dysmorphia, if that makes sense. It was kind of like after I'd sort of come through the other side of it. I didn't know at the time when I got it. I didn't really. I kind of associated, and this might have been wrong of me, but at the time I associated body dysmorphia with people who had anorexia because I assumed that that's what it was. I didn't think it worked in the kind of reverse of that, if that makes sense. But body dysmorphia is basically when you have it is a mental health thing, and it's basically where you spend a lot of time worrying about your actual appearance and how people view you and the way you think of yourself, and you believe that you're sort of ugly, unattractive, deformed. You see your appearance is different to other people do, and so in public situations, that is where your focus is. You're in your head thinking of what people are thinking of you and how you're looking, when actually they're probably just happy to see you, but you can't help but think, oh my God, they must be, like, for me, it would have been, oh my God, they must think I'm really ugly, they must be thinking I'm fat, oh my God. Then people, if someone laughed over the other side of the room, I'd be like, oh, they're laughing at me because they can say, like, they can say how I look, they can say I'm deformed, they can say I'm a monster, they can say would be running commentary in my own head. No one was ever like as horrible to me as me. Like, I was the most, no one could be as nasty to me as I could. Like, no one. And I didn't see it at the time. I just thought it was who I was.
Yeah, we're definitely our worst critics.
I have the opposite problem. I look in the mirror and think, good God, I'm gorgeous. I just look at it and think, wow. But I used to think that I was ugly. I just trained my mind to think the opposite over many years and continually ignore it. Because to be honest, right, I think it's other people's opinions. Somebody says something to us once, like, oh, you're not looking very good today, or you're not looking great, or whatever, and it sticks with us, and we don't notice all the great and kind things that others, we just remember that unkind comment, and we think that everyone else thinks the same as that, and most times they don't. I don't walk down the street, I don't see people and think, oh, they look ugly, or they look unattractive, or whatever. I just think, oh, that's Cheryl, that's Darren, that's or whatever. I don't notice people's opinions, and appearance, and I'm sure it's the same for other people as well.
Yeah,
I think it's getting to a point where it doesn't matter and you don't care, even if people are talking or people are saying, oh, look at that person when they're walking down the street. It's about reaching a point of comfort in yourself, so that you don't, you can't be knocked down by other people's opinions. You're comfortable enough in yourself and secure enough in yourself, in a good place.
Just picking up on something. Sorry, go on.
Ian, no, sorry.
Just picking up on something Natalie said there, that we are our own worst critic, and I think, I had a conversation with somebody recently that, no matter how, however you want to term it, however beautiful you may or may not be, I think we can bully ourselves, and it affects us, and sometimes just as Andrew says, a little dig from somebody here and there, will send us in a certain direction.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so important. The people you surround yourself with and you speak to can make such a difference to you.
Yeah.
I message Ashley almost daily to tell her how beautiful she is. She reminds me she's got a husband she very much loves. That's good.
Is this the tough the guy who sets the tough quiz questions? Is that the
Yeah.
Is it true that Lainey's got an ad voodoo doll for the next set of questions? Is that true?
That is true, yes.
Yeah.
But picking up on what Andrew was saying, I think it is important to surround yourself with, I hate the word positive, but positive people.
Yeah.
Because you can have people who, despite their best intentions, just aren't good for you. It can be family members, it can be friends you've had for a long time, it can be colleagues, and recognising at what point it's healthy to walk away, distance yourself from people.
I think you need people who have some understanding of what you're going through, because you can have people that can say something like, "Oh, you just need to be happy," or "just need to pull yourself together," or "chin up," or whatever, or "man up," and you're like, it's not what I need to hear. What I need to hear is somebody saying, "I understand," you know. So, and that's not necessarily being positive. That's just being accepting. I find so. Yeah, if you get somebody if you have people around you who just accept you for who you are, you're going to do so much better in life than if you've got people who, some people will try and push you, but in doing so, they're actually making things worse for you if you don't realise that. And it's with the best of intentions.
I think it's hard for people who not have experienced mental health issues themselves, or experience someone close to them having it. Personally, I know for myself for years, put my hands up and admit it might sound terrible, but I thought depression was a form of laziness, a form of avoidance, and you could just pick yourself up and why are these people sitting in their bed, and and this is an attitude that I had myself. And then I spent 3 years on my bed, not brushing my hair, not brushing my teeth, not looking after myself, not being able to go out the house. And it wasn't really until I personally experienced it that I realised how wrong my opinions before were and how ashamed I was of them, but also how difficult it can be for someone that has no experience with mental health challenges, how difficult it can be for them to try and understand. So I think it is important to try and share experiences with as many people as possible, so that even if you personally haven't experienced mental health, you maybe can understand what's appropriate or helpful to someone who has gone through it. As you say, sometimes it's not helpful to say somebody, chin up. Sometimes you can't help it, it's just maybe that little bit of understanding.
I think it is, without making this sound awful, so when you're going through it, obviously no one else can be in your head and know how it feels. But for those around you, it is very draining, and that's not me trying to say anything, but I know, looking back now, it must have been so draining for my family with how I was, do you know what I mean? And it wasn't something that I could help or realised I could help at all at the time, but now I realise it's a different story when you've got hindsight and you're on the other side, you know what I mean? It's a totally different story. I'm just going to go through the chat and say a few more hellos and also read a few comments to keep up. I don't know. Let's see. Frankie Frank says, I figure it is the fear of lack of control that upsets me most. So if I'm doing something constructive, then I have no control, easing anxiety so I can think more clearly. Hi Carla. Hi Ed. Hi Michelle. Hi Sam. Hi Daryl. Have I said hi? Hi Peter. There's a whole lot of hi's to each other, so it's getting. Hi Leanne. Hi Kirsten. Sorry if I didn't say hello and I've gone past you. It's okay. Can I just say that? No, I look at it normally. So Sam's saying, is that not just paranoia? I think that's when I was talking about body dysmorphia. She has it all the time. I think some of it was that in the end, I think it got that extreme. I think the only way I could explain my face or how I looked at myself was, do you remember them the sort of slide along puzzles, and there were like loads of little squares, and you'd slide them up and down, and then you'd get the finished picture. But when you first started, it was all mixed up.
Yep.
That's how my face looked to me. So it just looked like this puzzle shape that you had to kind of thing. Obviously the weight added onto that after I started to get bigger, but that was, I don't know if that was a different thing. I don't know if that was paranoia, that side of it, possibly. I just scrolled down a bit further. Kirsten says it's taken her 47 years to learn to love herself, as corny as that sounds. Doesn't sound corny at all. That's exactly, exactly it. We should all love ourselves, because, that you are who you are, and that's where it starts from, I think. But it's so hard to do, especially when you're young and you've got all those pressures. Georgina thinks surgery is the only answer. Georgina, you're beautiful. I just wish you'd see it. Peter says he always worried about his appearance as a teenager due to having bad skin. Always worried what others thought. That lasted from when he was 12 to 19. After that, he couldn't care what people thought. I'm pleased it stopped for you. Yeah, Carol echoing that self-love is so important.
Yeah, I would just like to add that as well. When you were saying about the impact, looking back, the impact that you had on your family and the people in your life, I'd just like to say that I think it's important that there can be a lot of guilt surrounded with it and negative feelings of how, personally I'm bipolar, so yeah. I've done quite a lot of extreme things that have impacted my family, and part of moving forward and being more comfortable with that is self-love and being kind to yourself, and part of that's like harbouring any guilt for anything that's been in the past or how you've acted or anything like that. Not saying you take responsibility, but give yourself the compassion that you would to other people. Be kind to yourself.
That is a concept I struggle with. This loving yourself and whatever. I don't know why. I just don't seem to be able to do that for some reason. It's very strange.
When you do care about yourself, when you do love yourself and do care about yourself, you care about the things you do and like it's hard to explain, but like it changes in how you treat yourself as well, and it just makes a difference. Nia's saying that she used to be our own worst enemy, but I'm slowly learning to be kinder to myself. One of the things that I always say to myself now is that if I say something horrible to myself, I'm like, would I say that to someone I like? Would I say that to a friend, a family member? If one of my friends or family came to us and they're like, oh, I've made a mistake, I've put £2 on or something because I ate a bar of chocolate, whatever, like, would I be like, oh, you're disgusting and all that? No, I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, it's just one thing. You'll get, it'll stop. You'll be fine. You'll move on from it. And that's what I started to do to me. I don't need to actually say to myself, what would I say to a friend now? I just automatically do it, But I used to have such guilt, such overpowering feelings of failure that literally stopped us from doing anything, because I would fail at it, so I wouldn't do it, because there'd be no point. That would be like literally running commentary, and then there'd be guilt on what I was doing and the family and everything, and then guilt on, because guilt's a horrible thing. Guilt, it's very crippling, and I let all that go. You know what I mean? I don't have guilt now. Leanne's saying you can be your own worst enemy, but your own saviour too. I learned that the hard way. Tough love, get up, take a stand and fight. I agree with that to a point, but when you've got depression, which I'm thinking is what you had when you spent three years in bed, you don't have any fight. Like it's like. Go on, sorry, Ashley.
I was just going to say it's like sometimes accepting that there is light at the tunnel, but sometimes you just got to accept that it's not today.
Yeah.
It's not today for fighting, and give yourself grace and kindness, but also to keep pushing, but not to put more pressure on yourself.
You know what I find the biggest thing that boosts me is exercise, going to the gym, whatever, getting out there, doing stuff. You know, that is what makes me feel good. If I'm having a bad day or whatever, I'm not feeling good about myself, go pound some weights, build up the muscle, job done.
Yeah.
Which is obviously difficult during lockdown.
Exercise is a massive thing for mental positivity. It's massive. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, you know, with Andrew that, you know, sometimes just doing a small amount of activity can make a big difference. And that can just be, you know, going for a walk. It can be doing something that you like doing. It's getting you out of the zone of, you know, being in that enclosed space in your own bubble, if you like, so that you're not overthinking. You know,
yeah.
I mean, you know, one of the things. I mean, I'm obviously not at the moment, but normally, you know, one of the things I like to do when I'm feeling that sort of situation is go for a drive. You know, and clear my head that way. Obviously, you know, times are different at the moment, but
like
you know, yeah. Just get out, step away from, you know, where you're at. You know, it might only be for half an hour. It might just be to, I don't know, bit of a drive. You know, go to a shop, or you know, go to a particular shop, or go and have a brew with somebody, or you know, just get out of that environment, and then you can come back and, you know, feel a lot different. You know, fresh eyes and go again.
And we talk about exercise, but as Ian says, could be any activity. Could be listing some stuff on eBay. You know, if I go and list 10 items on eBay, I feel much better after having done that than I did beforehand, because I've achieved something. I get that sense of achievement out of it, and I forget that sometimes. And then I go and do it. I'm like, oh, I feel good now because I've done something, you know, productive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the inactivity,
speaking about
dangerous, overthinking, and like if you're not trying to have a purpose, some small goal, or a reason to go out of bed that day, you're not going to. So
I'm not allowed to not get out of bed. I get woke up by a dog.
That's, I must say, dog, that's my top thing.
But he's a good reason, though, you know. Yeah.
Can I also?
I just wanted to go in. Sorry, Ian.
Sorry, Lainey. I was just going to say, sometimes, you know, something I think Z touched on recently, that, you know, getting up and having a shower or whatever it may be, a bath or a shower, and, you know, getting yourself ready for the day rather than just being, you know, in your pajamas or whatever, and, you know, just sort of, you know, being about the house. You know, if you're making the conscious effort to get ready for the day, I think it's a little bit psychological in that way as well. You know,
there's a system.
There's something about getting up, making your bed, and getting dressed that says, okay, I'm here to face whatever the day brings.
Bed's made.
Yeah, I won't show you mine. I have got clothes on.
I'm
now.
in mine. So.
I went out to the post office today. Although, as it turned out, it was shut when I got there. But I didn't let that ruin my mood. I was like, oh, right, okay, I'll have to come back tomorrow.
That's it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about depression because I think a lot of people don't realise the severity of. Everybody feels down. It's normal. It's normal to have a down day. It's normal to have a bad day. It's normal just to have a negative day. But depression is something else. It's like, for me personally, I would describe it as being at the bottom of a very dark hole with no way out. That was how it felt to me. There was nothing. There was just this sadness. Sometimes you can feel angry. Some people feel angry. Some people feel sad. Some people, for me personally, it was just like a nothingness that just. Then I stopped caring like you. I didn't bother washing my hair. Didn't brush my teeth. Didn't do anything. I just lost all. The only thing that I did do was eat, and the reason I ate was because it blocked the thoughts out of my head. It blocked all the negative thoughts I had of myself, which was only. But I was enabling them in another sense because I was eating, making myself bigger, which was then it was just one vicious circle. But the depression for me started when I was about 26. I did a lot of major life events in about 4 months. It was like 3 or 4 major life events in 4 months. And I didn't even realise it at the time, and I didn't even think about it, but progressively over the following, so however long, I stopped socialising, I stopped leaving the house, I stopped, you know what I mean? It got to the point that I didn't go out at all because obviously along with the panic and the anxiety and then the horrible thought of myself, the way I felt about myself, taking myself out of the view of society, I thought I was doing a favour for, do you know what I mean? Like, and it just got to the point that, I don't think at one point, I washed my hair in about a year. And that's being honestly truthful. Like, that I didn't wash my hair, nothing. It's like everything, you don't have any energy. You're just in this darkness. It's just hopelessness, like the despair, it's just nothing. There's just, and I never used to think that I wouldn't say I felt suicidal, but I used to think things like people would be better off without it, but I never sort of took it any further than that. I would have the thoughts that and I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't know, I didn't know what was wrong with it. I just assumed it was me because, like, being like the body dysmorphia side of things with the distortion and all of that, I used to think that was how I looked and how I was. So this was just another side of the monster that I thought I was.
I think there is a big difference there as well, Lainey, that there is a big difference between not wanting to be here and not wanting to be here and wanting to do something about it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, in my opinion, a lot of people, that haven't experienced it don't understand that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that probably, don't want to be in the situation they're in or don't want to be here or whatever, but would never do anything about it. And obviously, sadly, there are a lot of people that are on the other extreme that would do something about it.
So for me,
true.
When my depression manifests as suicidal thoughts and intent. So it's a real danger for me when I get depressed.
Yeah.
I haven't had a bout of depression for quite some time. I think since probably about I had a bit of a blip in February, but that didn't last long because that's when I joined the gym and started doing all that, and that just pulled me through it. Before that, it was probably over a year ago. So, you know, you start to learn what your danger signs are. And if I wake up and I feel like, you know, that I don't really care if I live or die or whatever, and I can't shake that thought, I know that I'm going to start spiraling, and so I've got to start doing things to try and shift that mindset before it overcomes me. Otherwise, you know, we'll end up in a dangerous position.
And I think as well, you kind of learn who to speak to when you're in that place as well. Not that you only speak to the people, you know, when you're in that place. That's not what I'm saying, but you know the people that you can, you know, whether it's just a message or whether it's a call, you know, a phone call or whatever, and you're there for each other. And you know, there are people in this chat, you know, that I'm pleased to say that I'm able to do that with. I know, certainly, you know, without wishing to put her on the spot, I know me and Lainey have had conversations about stuff, you know, and it's just knowing somebody that you can pick up the phone or whatever it may be, you know, and just sort of clear your head and put things into perspective and carry on again, really.
It's hard to think that someone would understand at the time when you're going through, and I think that's, you know, explaining how you truly feel. It's initially hard, but once you start doing it, it's so freeing. I think, like, it helps so much, and whether that's, you know, getting some professional help, especially if, you know, you are having suicidal thoughts and thinking of doing something about it, and you definitely need to get some professional help.
Yes, I have a £40 an hour therapist that I go see.
Yeah. You have experienced that, and you know that helps you, doesn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely, very much. Yeah, I've had lots of different types of therapy and whatever. You've got to find the right therapist, the right techniques that work for you. So don't be dispirited if you go to somebody and after a few weeks you're thinking this isn't working. There's a lot of choice out there and a lot of different techniques and stuff that can work for you. So, you know, you just got to keep trying until you find what is right for you. And it took me a long time to find someone and something that was right for me, but, you know, years, but got there in the end.
Have you ever had any help outside of your family, Ashley?
Yes.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, that is.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk about that.
I spent some time in hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the bipolar, you get you can get bouts of depression, but you can also have periods of mania and psychosis and things like that. So I experienced that, and I had to be hospitalised and heavily sedated and things for a while. But for the last maybe while I've been completely med-free, because of my age and being a female, the antipsychotic medication, you can't have children on lithium or delta-cat. There is medication you can take if you're planning a family, but the risks are very high. So it was a decision that I made to try and come off the pharmaceutical medications, and I've been using CBD oil and things like that. And it has been
yeah, I've got friends who use CBD oil as well for different things, physical or mental. It works for on both things. I think I'm not sure whether. Sorry, I was going to say I'm not sure whether I suffered with psychosis when I was in hospital, because I was already in the hospital and I'd been really poorly. I'd had it's kind of a long story, but I'd try and make it short. I'd whilst I was in the hospital, I got pneumonia and a blood infection that made it really seriously ill over a weekend. And it was kind of touch and go at one point. I had intensive care involved and everything. And then when I started to get better, they only had flashes of that bit. And when I started to get better, they put us on all these medications, and I was on a drip with some hardcore, whatever the pouring is, I don't know. And I was like, what's that for? Why am I on that drug? What's it for? And they went, that's for your heart, that's for this. That. And I went, my heart, what's wrong with my heart? And obviously went into like a mode of panic, and I didn't have the food because obviously I was in hospital and food was me blocking of all things that bothered us out. That's what I used. And so I went in this spiral downwards of like getting more and more panicked. And I really lost all sense of logic to the point that on the night, like I was in a side room on my own at this point. So on the night, it was like February, it was freezing. The room used to go really cold, and I used to lie there, and like my whole life just seemed to flash before my eyes. It was horrible. And then I'd change things in my brain about what happened. Did that really happen, or did this happen? I'd start adding bits and taking bits off. And I remember looking at a pair of scissors on the table, and in my head I said to myself, just stab them in your wrist, like that. And then I was horrified at the thought that I'd had of stab them in your wrist. I'm like, what? Why am I thinking that? Why have I thought that to me? You know what I mean? And I was horrified at it. I also, I was suffering constant panic attacks, so there was just wave after wave. I couldn't lift my head up at points because it was just so heavy. Like the pressure on my chest was unreal. I was gripping onto the bed. The nights were really scary, and I remember looking at in my phone. It was obviously dark, and when your phone is like that, and you know how you can see slightly in it. And I was looking at myself, and I started to blink, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't see myself blink. There's something, I'm dead. And I honestly thought I died over that weekend thing, to the point that like I was starting to panic. Well, why am I still here? Why am I still in this room? Why is it cold? Oh, I'm dead, that's why it's cold. And I remember this panic going round, and then I thought, oh no, I must have been really evil. Oh, that's really true. I was that monster. You remember the things in Ghost, the black things that used to come up from the ground that made the noise in the film? I don't know if you've seen Ghost, but I thought they were coming for us to take us away because they took away bad people. And honest to God, I've never ever felt anything like that. I couldn't speak about it. I stopped being able to speak. In fact, I used to just make noises. I phoned my brother and just make noises. I remember the doctor came around once, and I've laughed about it since, because and she was standing at the side of my bed asking us what was wrong, and I tried to speak and I couldn't speak, and it was just a noise. In the end, I just thought, I'm going to shut my eyes and you're not there, and then it'll be better. So I shut my eyes thinking she'll go away while I've shut my eyes, to open them to find that she was still there. And obviously, and it was so horrifically scary. Like I can't begin to explain how horrifically scary it was. I mean, I've since spoke through it with my CPN, and he's like, oh well, it's the amount of drugs that will put you on to save your life is one thing. That's going to have had a change of your perception. Obviously, I didn't help me go to, like me escape in terms of me food, because that would have just blocked all of that out. So obviously, some people use food, some people use drink, some people use drugs, some people use sex, and some people use work. There's umpteen things that people do to cope or get through, and it's when it gets to obviously an extreme that it becomes an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair point.
Does anyone want to add on to that?
I would just like to mention, for me personally, something that's been important for me as a coping mechanism is routine, building a stable routine. And just to pick up on some Ian was saying about Zahir showering every day and getting ready and, you know, making effort. It's a system that was designed by an American lady, I think, to help housewives clean. It's called the Fly Lady system, and I picked bits out of that and helped to build a routine. But one of the key things that she says in it is you have to dress to shoes every day. So you have to get up and you have to dress to outdoor shoes so that you're, if you imagine the apocalypse happens, you're ready to go. And I think that picks up on what Ian and Andrew were saying about getting yourself into that like mindset. And some days for me, even now, years on, getting dressed to shoes, to me, that's like a tip. That's me. You know, I've won that day. You know, I take that as a win. Even now.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, like, you know, for a female, maybe putting your face on, or even just changing an outfit, putting a smart top on, I think it can help shift your mindset.
Put your keep calm and drink beer t-shirt on. Possibly not the best advice.
I think
yeah. But I also agree with Andrew that, you know, something as simple as making your bed can make a difference. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's little things that sometimes just build up a bigger picture.
As actually was saying, routine, it makes a difference. You know, sticking to your routine, and having that in place, so you've got, you know, even if you're not enjoying doing that part of it at the time, it's obviously it will help you to do it. Because if you don't get up and you don't get dressed and you don't make your bed and you just stay there, you can then spiral yourself further down. And a lot of the time, if you do get up, you know, it will kickstart you into doing the other things as well. Whereas, like, you know, you might not have done it had you just sat there and gone into that spiral of, because it's so easy to do, isn't it? And one little trigger in the spiral can just take you down.
It's, I think you were saying, Lainey, like you were describing it as like a tunnel, a big black tunnel. For me, it's kind of similar. It's like this big dark cavern, and I felt like I was constantly clawing onto the side with my fingernails, just trying every time a little bit further, and then just constantly just. But I think if you do just try to get a bit of those fingernails in and just keep digging your way out.
Keep trying it. Yeah. See, I mean,
slip right back down.
I haven't gone back into that darkness since I came out of hospital. I've had a couple of blips when I first had to acknowledge that my knees weren't going to work and I needed the hoist. That I had a bit of probably 2 or 3 weeks there, and then when I didn't think, just with the lockdown, and I didn't think it was affecting me, and then I realised it was. I had a few weeks there, but they were very up and down weeks. It wasn't a constant down. I was constantly picking myself back. But now I feel good. I've kind of wrote it out, took it all out in my head and wrote it down, because that's one thing that really works for me. Just whatever's going on in there, write it down, even if it makes no sense to anyone else, and it doesn't even make sense to me when I read it back. Sometimes I read them back and think, what? You know what I mean? But at the time, it just gives us that release. The same with writing poems, it just gives us that release of like, and I always feel better.
I reread some of my listings sometimes and think that.
I do that with every time I sell something. I'm like, what the hell do you think when I take that one off?
Sorry, lady.
I'm just going to scroll back up as far as I can and then go back through the chat again just to make sure I haven't missed anything. And Kirsten said she always felt like she wanted the world to stop so she could get off. I think with I think a lot of us have felt it and like being about that. Nia says she finds music helps. She joined the choir, different music for different moods. I agree with that because I joined the choir as well last year. They've just actually gone online to start doing it, so that's good. That is also true, Carol. It's not easy to get mental health help, as there's been a lot of cutbacks. There is. There's a lot of charities that do help as well. In the meantime, obviously, do put yourself forward for it, or anyone who needs it. Hi, Dan. Hi, Sharon. Dan said he's got really bad health anxiety at the moment. It's taken over my life. I'm sorry to hear that, Dan. If you can get some help. I've had that before, because obviously the thing with it's very hard to not let it spiral. I think I've missed quite a bit, but I'm trying to keep involved. Anyway, David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I was just saying a couple of things in the chat there. About I was saying there that at the minute with what's going on, I would worry quite a bit. Anxiety and depression would go through the roof about going into work, and I'm scared about getting COVID-19 and things like that. But
yeah.
At the same time, it's always good knowing that there's people like yourselves where we can come and chat about things like that, because I think the most important thing is to talk about it, not keep it in your head.
Definitely. I think it's that it's, I suppose for you, because in the line of work you're in, is it a care home you work in?
Yeah, David? It is. Yeah, it is.
So I'm assuming that your care home is taking all necessary precautions and everything. And I think that's the thing is, as well, is that you're doing that and you're doing everything you can that won't happen. And I know sometimes it's really hard not to think, what if? But the thing with the what if thing is it's very debilitating.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It is possible to switch it so that you can get to the point where you get to the point where you only worry about what actually is happening, but it is something that obviously can be worked on. And the fact that you're going in and you're doing it is proven that you are getting through it, and you can do it. And I'm sure a lot of your colleagues feel the same way.
Oh yes, everybody, we're all in it together. Like it's said for the whole world, we're all in it together. But it's like what Ashley was saying. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and you just got to keep believing. And like there's Andrew was touching about going to the gym. I remember talking to Andrew about that, because I'm a member of my gym myself, and I just started going to my gym before this all happened, and it does make a big difference to you. It definitely is. Makes a very good positive difference to your mind. But since the gym and all these things are closed now, because of the situation we're in, I thought, right, so whatever way can I get out and do exercise? So I started having walks with my family, keeping close to home, not going too far. And then I went out on Amazon there recently and bought myself a wee exercise machine. And you know what? I've been doing that every night for the last 2 nights after work. And I find even that there has been good for the mind. Just keeps your mind focused on better and positive things, rather than, thinking about the bad stuff,
Yeah, turn yourself into an athlete. That's
yes, Andrew, I know. We'll be athletes before the end of the year, mate.
Exactly. But I'm more of a athlete for the minute.
That's a good thing, being able to keep yourself busy.
Definitely, 100%.
it was a lot harder when you only had like the one option of exercise and things like that. But now that you can do more and you can go further, and especially if it's something that you do and you get something from, then adapting it slightly. If like usually you go to the gym but you can't, then adapting it slightly to completing something that maybe you find online. I don't know about that Joe Wicks, but everyone seems to be doing, or the we're doing his exercise thing every day. But obviously they're all there and available, and there's that much stuff on YouTube now. No matter your level of your ability, whether you can only do things from sitting or lying or what, there's something out there that you can do to help with with exercise.
Yes, definitely so. Yeah, I've been finding that, because I thought to myself, if I don't do something about this, I'm going to go downhill very quickly here. So I thought to myself, right, what positive thing can I do here to try and stop that from happening? So then I thought to myself, right, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to get that exercise machine off Amazon. I don't care what the cost is. I'm just going to do it because I know if I don't, I'm going to go back downhill to where I started, and it's very hard not to go back down to that place,
Yeah.
I think that's like a key point that David mentioned there. Like, he recognised the warning signs and the triggers for and he done something about it. Like, I've always got like, a saying in my head that I keep about, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And it's like thinking, right, every now and then stopping, taking a minute to think, right, like, what's the danger signs? And David did that. He's
you need a self-care plan when things are going bad, like you've got, you know what the signs are, you know what you need to do to address those, what's worked in the past, you know who to speak to, you remember that you've got your friends there for you, form your own cults, you can do various things.
I think it's also having the right, like you said, the right people, because I've got a lot of friends outside of YouTube and stuff, and I've got friends who know how to calm us down, and I've got friends who, if they're not good in a catastrophe, in the sense of like, if there's an issue, they can catastrophize it. So it's finding the right person, and that's not saying that they're a bad friend or anything. It's just that that's how they work. You know what I mean? And other people, there's people who are common, and there's people who aren't, and I guess it's just finding the right people that work for you, that you can talk things through and know how to bring you down from a height, I suppose, is the way of putting it. But it's not always easy. But I think, like you said, looking into things that help, which is another thing I wanted to do. Knowing your triggers is both you and, or recognising the triggers, as both as you've mentioned, is definitely one. Obviously, when this is happening to you for the first time, it might not be something that you're able to recognise initially, because again, it's something that's unknown to you. But if you're feeling different in any way for whatever reason, then opening up to someone is definitely the first step, whether that be someone you love and trust, or a health professional. That first step is a massive thing, and just in talking, realizing that every single one of us suffers in some way with mental health. That no one escapes it, whether to which degree, to which, in which way, in whatever part of life that it could be. I think it's working out things that help. So for me, writing, like I said, putting everything on paper, that really helps me. So does mediation. I've used mindfulness, breathing techniques, going into, like, obviously professional health. I've had a CPN, I've had a peer support worker, I've had and then just sort of building on positive things and keeping. It took us a long time to train my brain out of thinking negatively. So my instant thought would be, go down the negative. As soon as a little something went wrong, it'd be negative straight down. Whereas now I look at the positive and find the positive in it. Even on a bad day, look for a positive in it. Could be a rainbow. It could be a smile off your child. It could be a hug off your mum. You know what I mean? It could be anything. It's just that little bit of positivity in that day. What things help you, Ian? Or is he on mute? I might not be. So what things help you, Andrew?
Like I was saying before, talking to people, distraction, I try and maybe listing some stuff on eBay. The thing is, whatever's bothering me today, it's very rarely an issue for me the next day, to be honest. The big change that I've made recently is that I was obsessed for so long with getting a relationship and whatever, and now I've decided I can't be bothered, I don't want that anymore. And it's like a huge burden has been lifted off my shoulders, so just, sitting down and thinking about, what do I actually want? This thing that I'm stressing about or getting anxious about, is it what I want anyway? And no, it's not. Well, fine, then let's move on past that. Writing helps a lot as well. I used to write a lot of blogs, but just writing a few sentences about how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling like that, and then sort of let that.
Even if it's just a diary or something, isn't it? I find I'm the same as you. I find writing very cathartic. I didn't think I'd get something out of it, but I get so much out of it.
Or I just get drunk and have a rant on YouTube.
What about you? You what? Sorry?
Or I get drunk and have a rant on YouTube. Everyone's got something different that works for them.
Yeah. I think it's just when anything you do that becomes too excessive and is where, you know what I mean, is where issues lie. If whatever you do to cope becomes something that affects your everyday life. So obviously for me, the eating became something that affected my everyday life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's where obviously it becomes an issue. Other than that, we all can do something at the end of a bad day and think, I'm gonna do whatever, as long as, like I said, it just doesn't affect you in the bigger scale of things. I'm trying to think of the right word. So what about you, David? You mentioned exercise.
Yes.
What other things do you do?
Well, at the minute, not much else. I try and help around the house at the minute. Things like that. I like doing. I've tried been helping, my dad doing painting around the house, outside the house. But, just trying to do something to keep my mind focused. It's difficult at the minute, as you all know, but I try to do things like that, and then, like I said, the exercise. Anything at all to take my mind off work, I'll do it. Now, it's a bit of give and take at the minute. It's not good being at home, and then it's scary for me and very worrying, and sometimes I would get very low about it when I go into work. So this is why I try to give myself things to do as best I can. It's a bit of a balance, between those two things. It's difficult, but yes, the exercise there, and I'm just glad that my family's with me, and I'm glad I can talk to people like yourselves. Like, I appreciate that a lot,
Yeah, it's good to be able to do that. What about you, Ian?
For those that know me, I'm not great with technology, but one of my best things I've bought, which may sound basic to a lot of people, is Bluetooth headphones, and just being able to zone out, put whatever music you like on. Music has been absolutely huge in, especially working from home, really. and that can be fortunate that I've got a broad genre of music. There's no one particular music I like. It can be one thing one day, one thing another. And this, that, and the other. So, but music is one big one really. And just as Andrew said, it's just sometimes just little things that, getting out for 10 minutes or, obviously observing, current situations, and just getting yourself out of that bubble. I think sometimes, I think the beauty of the headphones is that I can stay doing what I should be doing, but still also being out of the bubble by, listening to, certain music and sometimes, I'm a bit loud than you probably know, singing along, which I apologise to my neighbours for, incidentally.
But I think it's good to do that sometimes. I know music is a great thing for me to just zone out to. I think this week I've had a mini 80s party, a mini 90s party, a mini reggae party. I've just had them all.
That sounds good fun. I said that reggae party sounds good fun.
It was just, just blast some music and sit and bed dance in my room, and it just makes us feel better. So
yeah, I'd agree with Ian there. Yes, yes, Ian. I find that myself. Even on the way home, I find listening to music in the car on the way home is better than listening on the way in, because I find when I'm driving down into work, I'm starting thinking to myself, what am I going into today? Is it going to be bad, or is it going to be good? Or we're going to have C19, or we're going to be free of it, and we're going to get out of here, that way. And but I find listening to music on the way home is nice, because I know I'm driving away from the place and I'm going home to see my family, and everybody's safe at home, that way.
Yeah, there's definitely something about music, and I know even with Lainey and Lainey in the chats, and when we do the quizzes and stuff, and I know she Lainey, you pick on yourself for your singing, but I think it's part of what makes the quiz sometimes.
What me bad singing?
Well, it's just honest singing, isn't it? Whether it's good or bad, it's just a mood changer, isn't it? It's a bit of fun and it just adds to it.
True. All good fun. All good. It's obviously no one singing that it uplifts your mood. You know what I mean? Obviously, you've got to pick the correct songs and stuff. There's the songs that can put your mood down as well as up. So, just trying to look into the chat there. I think I've missed so much. It's trying to. I'm not used to not being able to keep up. It's not good. Joan said, everyone here helps me. The routine of YouTube, live chats, and the honesty from everyone and the laughs. That's lovely.
I've just broke
Sharon says, I was asked the other day. You what?
I just broke my coping mechanism. It's like a elastic band that I ping round my wrist.
Oh.
I just broke it.
Oh, you just broke it. Is that just when you feel anxious? Or you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm assuming that talking about this isn't easy. You know what I mean? I wiggle my feet. That's what I do. I wiggle my feet. No one can see, but my feet just wiggle away on their own. That's me little. People used to say. So, well, some of the carers I've had in the past have said, "Oh, you've got get excited feet." I'm like, no, it's just me. It's me where my nerves go. But I just have excited feet. Happy feet. I'll be happy feet. Charles saying, I was asked the other day if I made a will and a guardianship stuff for my kids, and now I haven't stopped thinking about it. I think that's the thing, is that something can trigger that in your mind that then makes you panic about, everything surrounding that. And sort of take it out of context. You know what I mean? I think once, I think it can take you to a place where you start thinking of things that have no reference to the original thought, if you know what I mean, and it just spirals down.
Certain things can trigger us.
Oh, Laura. Laura said, I have found this community so lovely. Just being able to say hi means so much for me on my journey living with the sudden loss of my daughter 3 years ago. I'm so sorry, Laura. That must be horrific. It's just amazing that you're here and you're obviously getting involved with this, which is really good. Scrolling down. Carol's talking about an app called Karma, pest-free mediation. I know there's ones that you can get for your phone. I think there's one called Mindfulness. I just find ones on YouTube, but you have to get the voice right for me. Some of the voices I find a bit off-putting, especially if they sound very robotic. But there's others that can sound very soothing. Carol also had CBT years ago, which she still uses. I've had CBT and it helped me loads. Carol says he spent years thinking, trying relationships, but he's given up on that. But it's easier said than done. He had also used to worry and stress about when he was going to meet someone. I think a lot of people do that. I think I've got to the point now where I've just decided that's not going to happen anyway, because I know that's probably the thought of it. It sounds nice, but it's just like I need to concentrate. Like in a way, I need to concentrate on me to get me to the best point of me, like with my needs and everything like that, in the hope that obviously they can be replaced and I end up walking again, because that is my first focus. So
it is amazing now, the advances on orthopedic surgery and with the like 3D printers and stuff now. Like,
oh yeah, it's so amazing. Carol says, to see how many people have experienced mental health issues, it's amazing how intolerant people can be. I agree with that, but I also it can be very draining when you're sort of in that bubble of it, because it's hard to, I mean, I try, to having been there. If you haven't been there, as you said, Ashley, it's kind of hard to understand it. I mean, I'm going to speak about my dad for a second. My dad's 84, nearly 85, and he's always been a worrier, but he's always been a doer, and he's never really suffered with mental health issues, but he started to lose his sight when he was 80. And I mean, he's got the point where he's hearing as well. He's got to the point where he's only got a tiny bit of his peripheral vision left. So that's caused him to become very panicked, and all the things that he uses to cope with the world, sort of zoning out within the TV, because he used to laugh and say he had square eyes because he was always watching the telly, and you know what I mean, and like all those things that he used to cope, reading the paper and all them, he can't do anymore. So it's made him very anxious and he's struggling a lot, and I think it's been a surprise to him because he's been hospitalized with it twice, because he didn't realize, obviously he'd never suffered with that before. So I think it's at 80-year-old, he's took a different understanding to how things can be. But yeah, does anyone else want to add anything?
The only thing I would say is I would go back to what Andrew was saying on. Just picking up the phone. I've spoken to Andrew quite a lot of times. Me and Andrew have had a lot of discussions down the phone. Picking up the phone, knowing that there's another person that understands as well. About things like this means a lot. Really does. Like even a couple of conversations I've had with Andrew down the phone, it's actually got me through some bad spots, and you know, and then I feel a lot better after talking to him, and even talking to yourselves. And maybe even if I'm not on here, maybe in the chat, if I'm in the chat talking to people about it, it's good knowing that you're not on your own. That's the most important thing. You're not on your own, and there's always people around you that have different stories to tell. And I think it's very important, like you said, they need to open up and talk about it, because we all find at the very start that's the most difficult thing to do. When you're scared about doing it, and you're worried about how people are going to react. But then when you get past that part and be able to talk about it and know that there's other people around you, and you never feel alone, I think that is nice knowing that in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's reminding yourself of that fact that you aren't alone, and a lot of other people are in the, you know, and are in that situation themselves, even if they don't speak about it, because there's that thing where you can look at other people's lives, and I think Instagram's really bad for that, where you can look and people's life looks really perfect, you know, because you're basically looking at their highlights reel of someone looking perfectly tan, looking very slim on the middle of a beach somewhere, and that's, you know, you don't know the issues that person's going through. You're just viewing yourself or comparing your life to someone else's that you think looks great, and it isn't. The reality is, you know, life is hard, you know, it's really hard, and you have to focus on the good bits and enjoy those as best you can, you know what I mean, because you are going to experience loads of different horrible things in life, you know, that breakups and loss, and you know, there's illness, there's loads of things in life that you're going to experience that is really hard, and sort of focusing on the positive and the little good things that, you know, like I said, is someone's smile, the sunrise, a rainbow, like those things are amazing. And just having a chat with a friend and a laugh, and the quiz has really helped me, like especially at the minute when we're not able to do that much. It really helps us because I've got something to focus on, and I really like to help other people. So it's a big thing for me. So like to have that focus, and I suppose with drinking with Andrew might probably help you, Andrew, because you've got that weekly chat and a laugh, and you know it's going to be fun, and you know you're going to have a good time, and you know, and I think that's the thing. And I suppose for people in the chat as well, you know, hopefully, obviously they're getting something out of it. I know I have at times, you know, I've gone into someone's chat and I might have had a crappy day and I feel a bit low, and I've popped into the chat and it's picked us back up, you know what I mean? It's made us feel better.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's that sort of thing.
Bye, Leanne. See you again.
You can have a bye, Leanne.
I don't know if anybody else is the same, whether in, you know, the people that are live or the people in the chat, but I think personally a lot of my friends don't know what's, you know, necessarily going on with mental health, whereas I found it a lot easier to talk to people that I can be open and honest with, that, you know, I don't feel like, you know, it's just that disattachment, isn't it, that, you know, they don't necessarily know about your life, but you can kind of talk about it, and you know, again, you know, I know I have with you, Lainey, and Andrew, and you know, and others, that you know, sometimes it can be, you know, just a hi, how are you sort of conversation, you know, doesn't have to be a deep conversation, or what are you up to today sort of conversation. It can just make that little difference sometimes, you know.
Definitely.
And I mean, there's a little reseller in Wrexham in North Wales that you might know, who used to do his early videos, and they were a great source for me. You know, I admit it. You know, I've told Andrew before. You know, they're a great source of, you know, knowing that, you know, why he started the channel, and it helped him, and it kind of, I know it's helped me, and I'm sure it's helped others. You can just have a chat with somebody, and you know, he's doing the job as well. And now obviously he's saving the world, and
Yeah.
you know, every Thursday we give him the clap. But
Yeah, I like getting the clap.
Personally, for me, Ian, picking up on that, I didn't tell any apart from my immediate family, that I was suffering from bipolar. Even after I was hospitalised, I kept it as a secret.
Yeah.
I had it from my employer. I had it from my friends. I had it from my husband's family as well. I think actually I told my mother-in-law a year ago, because I had a problem. I had an issue. I was ashamed. I felt that people would judge me and see me as a failure, because I was high functioning. You know, I was doing really well in this career. I had a great job. Everything seemed on the surface perfect. So I didn't want to have to tell my friends or anything, because I felt wrongly that I would be admitting that I was a failure rather than accepting that I wasn't well. And if my friend had a broke leg, I wouldn't be thinking any less of him because he had a broke leg. But for some reason, I felt I couldn't share that with the people who mattered in my life, the closest people, because of shame. I don't feel like that anymore, but for a long time I did. And maybe that's why people can find it easier to discuss things with relative strangers rather than people closest to them.
Because you don't want either someone looking at you different or treating you different, one, and that's one thing that sometimes you feel that might happen, you know, or you know, I think it's that spiral of like of looking at all the negatives and then bringing them all out and then just think, well, they're all going to think this, you know what I mean, like, and that'll be how it goes. I mean, Jo there in the chat, she also suffers with bipolar, and she's saying she has so many massive ups and downs, and she has to really think about big decisions to make sure it's not the bipolar. She split with her husband after 22 years, but it took 6 months to make sure. That she was doing well. I'm pleased that obviously if that was the right decision for you, that you managed to get to that decision. I think anything like big like that anyway is probably something that would take a while to make sure you're making the right choice. You know, it wouldn't have been an easy decision to make. Joan says she became partly sighted after a stroke 25 years ago, and she's still not used to it. Years zoom by. I need help to do everything, and it drives me mad. Never got used to it, but enjoy good days. I think, I mean, obviously the sighted thing, I can't understand. I know that I have mobility issues, and it's hard to accept, but like, and there's times that I have like, you know, I'll get so down just because I can't turn my light out. Just that one thing will trigger, and I can do it thousands of times, and like not have a problem with it. But then
you need to get smart lighting. You can turn off the mobile phone. I can turn off mine from the mobile phone.
Oh yeah, it's like that. Is it a begins with H or something?
All you need.
Is it something like that?
Have a look. It literally turns off the switch for you.
All right.
So have an app on your phone. You can turn off everything. The house is gradually turning into smart technology. That's what I've got into, smart lighting. Hive, I think, do smart light. Job done. You never have to worry about having to not being able to turn on the lights or off because you've got the control back.
I think you can get the
True
clap plugs.
Yeah, I get a clapper.
Clap plugs, yeah. I think there's like well, I know the council does some sort of like technology like that. I'm not sure the whole thing in it, and I need to look into it. But I will do, you know what I mean, just to give us a bit more control, because it was like I think going out for the first time on my own. I hadn't gone anywhere on my own for 8 years when I finally went round the block in the wheelchair, and it was the most amazing thing ever. I had my 90 on, I had a skirt on, a 90 and nothing on my feet, because I didn't own a pair of shoes, because I hadn't needed to buy any, because I never left the house anyway. And I didn't own any tops or anything, so I just had a 90 on and went round the block. But it was like the most amazing thing ever. Nia's saying that she had a big pull on Instagram because it made her feel really down. I don't look like the beautiful people. I'm single as a Pringle, and I'm not off on holiday all the time. Much happier after the pull. Do you know what? I don't think the people who are doing those things or putting that out there, that part of their life out there, are actually that happy themselves. You know what I mean? I think it's either a need in them or something that makes them do that. But I think an obsession in some ways. I've read or watched a lot of things where people have got, in serious issues with certain diet things and stuff, because they're trying to look at that perfect Instagram body that people. The reality of life is that isn't real. It's the same with like all the models and people in the magazines you see, and it's all altered and stuff like that. It's not real. It's not reality. And on Instagram, you're just looking at someone's highlight reel, and like you're flipping through and thinking they're on holiday, they're having a barbecue, they're having a nice time, they're doing this, and you're sitting there with your dinner slopped down your top and thinking you look horrible and whatever, but it's not real,
Leonie, I'm gonna head on here, but thanks very much for having me on, and it was good chatting to you. So hold on, just before we go here, I'll show my face.
Yay!
David.
Hi.
Yo.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's good talking to you all, and I'll see you all again soon. All right, everybody stay safe and look after yourselves. And it was good talking to you all. All right.
See you later.
All right. Thanks very much. See you all again. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Lainey, that I think not just Insta, there's many sites out there that, it is a highlight reel, and it's easy to get lost in the the hype, or whatever you want to call it. Although I believe if you go on Andrew's Insta, there are some naked pictures on there. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but anyway.
If anyone wants to see me naked, @MoneyMentalUK on Instagram. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, seriously, there are a lot of sites out there, and it's easy to see. I'm off. I'm off in Bali, or I'm in my house in, whatever part of the world it is, and this, that, and the other. And you sat at home, and it can be, not necessarily. It's just little things that impact you, and seeing those things all the time, it just makes you feel less, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at those pictures for the bikini shots, to be honest. I'm not bothered about where they are. I've been on holiday before. I took myself off to Miami for a week or so. It's just bloody miserable. I'd rather be in Wrexham.
Yeah.
So, I look at stuff like that. I think, fair dues. I'm glad you're having a good time, but it's not for me. So,
You told me you'd rather be in Scotland pinching Star Wars stock.
Well, yeah, but that was a secret.
Oops.
There's something Kelly said this morning on, losing track of days, but Kelly said at some point, at some time, that you should try to build a life that you don't need to escape from. So
absolutely.
Like you could still these fancy bodies or Bahamian houses, or I don't know what it is. I don't know what is on it. Cakes, people's dinners. I don't know what to put on it, but any of these things, and it shouldn't matter, because if you've built a little pile of contentness wherever you are, and you're content with yourself, somebody could come along with their supposed grass is always greener on the other side, and they can keep it.
Yeah.
It's, get to a place where it doesn't matter what you see on your Instagram feed. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to put some pictures of me on the beach up there later. Hashtag real.
And
it's all fake anyway. Look at Steve Green's body. I don't think that's Steve Green's actual body. I could be wrong, but it could be photoshopped.
It's just a screenshot of time that isn't relevant to actual life. If you know what I mean, we all have this thing that other people are perfect and their life's perfect, or we don't always all have it, but it can happen and it can send you viral and that make you feel negative about yourself, because but the truth is that no one's life is perfect, because there is no such thing as perfection. We're all perfect because of our imperfections in that sense, not for any other reason. That makes us who we are, makes us all different, we're all unique. I shared this earlier on my Facebook. I think some of you might have seen it. So it's two £20 notes, and one is crumpled up and one is perfectly brand new and just in perfect condition. And basically it says, here I have two £20 notes. This one on the left has been through a hard time. It's been abused and at times feels a complete failure. The one on the right is straight and crisp and not touched and seems almost perfect. Answer me this, is the one on the left worth less than the one on the right? And the moral of the story is, don't let anyone, and especially not yourself, put you down just because you've been through a tough time. We're all equal. We're all worth the same value. We just have different perfect perfections which make us who we are. And so love yourself.
Very true.
And it is one thing that I feel.
Unless it's a Scottish note and it's not worth £20 somehow. Like that.
Yeah, but the exchange rate's getting better.
Yeah, I'll pay you in Scottish money for the Star Wars toys.
Can you use it anywhere? Keep it.
Right, I better head off. I've got to take him out.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up as well. So, I think I just want to say the last thing I want to say is if you're struggling constantly to get help, I've put loads of helplines below. Andy's Man's Club for the men. There's a thing called Andy's Man's Club. It's on Facebook. They're a really good thing. And there's the Samaritans, which is basically all the links are below. And speak to your doctor, speak to your friends, try and stay positive. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all. Oh, I'm also going to add my email in the chat if anyone wants to chat, they need to talk about something, just anything really, then you can send us a message unless you've got us on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, and then you can do it that way. Just have to remember what my name is when I'm typing it on here. Does anyone want a final comment there?
I think I think the key is just not to sort of shut yourself away and try and reach out, whether that be whether that be somebody that you speak to day to day, whether it be somebody a reseller, whether it be somebody professionally. I think the key is reaching out. There is help there.
Yeah.
Don't be on your own, and it's going to be a time thing, but just make sure you reach out, I think, is the key.
Definitely. Final words, Ashley?
This will pass. Things
Yes, it does.
always stay the same. And be kind to yourself.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew?
I was going to reflect on what Ian said and say, you know, just don't be afraid or feel ashamed to ask for help. It's okay to do that. I've done it many times, and it's always worked out well in the end. Definitely. There's no shame in being ill.
And I think the final thing I wanted to say is that you are worth it. So yeah, thank you very much to all of my guests. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat for speaking up and speaking out. I will see you all soon because I'll be back on doing another live as usual. Thank you, everyone.
No complaints here.
Bye to the people.
Bye, thanks. Bye, Andrew.
Awkward wave.